So have you ever had this feeling when you have a really big decision in front of you and you could go one way or you could go another way and your heart is leaning to one way, but your heart is also leaning to another way? And in fact, if you're listening to all of my videos and you're doing everything that I've been talking about and still you feel really split. So how do you navigate that real split feeling? Let's talk about that today. So usually in private sessions, when I come across my students who are feeling split, it often means that there's two competing options and both feel really good. But if I start to dig in deeper, I can usually find that one might be a voice of resistance or anger. And that might seem weird that would feel good, but let's talk about that. So first off, the voice of anger, which is like, I've had enough, I'm quitting this job and I'm moving across to another city and oh my God, that just feels so good. Or this relationship is broken too many boundaries, has crossed too many difficult terrain, and I don't want to move forward with this anymore. And oh, that just feels so good. So lots of times that's what we're hearing. Now, to be clear, I am a giant fan of anger. I do not feel that anger comes from fear or repressed material or should be thrown out. In fact, I feel like anger is your most valuable consultant. I feel quite certain that it comes from clarity. And our job is to listen as if it was a $2,000 an hour consultant. You need to privately step aside into a quiet space and listen to the anger because it will tell you very precisely where your boundaries are. And that is so valuable. Now, anger, of course, doesn't play great with other people. But so you don't want to express those boundaries from the place of anger, but you certainly want to listen and tune in. And that takes a little bit of practice, although I'm sure you found if you tried to communicate to others from anger, it didn't go very well. So stepping into a room or finding a quiet space, or if you're out in public, stepping outside the restaurant or stepping into a restroom, or we can always find a quiet space somewhere to really listen and tune into that anger and hear what it's offering us. So usually, it's bringing us a lot of clarity and a lot of great information, and we need to make a really clear inventory of what that is. But then the second thing we're usually finding is there is some kind of what I might call rational mind, where you have weighed the pros and cons, and all of the pros are kind of leaning here, and so is your heart, and that's really a better place, and it's more peaceful, and it makes more sense if we just did that, and it'd be easier for everyone. And so it feels like it's from your heart as well. And it feels like it's probably the best turnout for yourself as well as others. And it's a little bit more along the line of compromise. And now, I am not a fan of compromise. In fact, if you bring compromise to my table, I will ask you to leave. Because compromise is the one thing in life that will steal every bit of joy. It will also steal all the clarity. It will also steal all the fabulous, ideal circumstances. It will steal your safety. It will steal the magic. It will steal the limitless possibilities. Well, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. And I laugh out loud when people describe marriage as compromise. It makes me laugh a lot that marriage is equated to compromise. It just means that consensus is not known and not known how to use, but certainly don't use compromise if you want to go forward anywhere. Now that's a little tricky thing, because to be able to check in and notice that compromise is there is a little hard, because sometimes compromise feels good. We are so trained to try to make situation A mash up together and fit better with situation B. Now, that's not our job. It's not our job to pre-think how all the pieces fit together. It's our job to notice our piece. And our piece is much more along the lines of a delicious yes. That means coming into the body, coming out of the head into the body, and feeling what sensationally feels like the best, yummiest possibility. That's your piece. You don't have to figure out how that fits with everyone else by shaving off parts of yours so parts of theirs fit better. That's all the separate me and false self jumping in and trying to make something happen that you don't need to make happen. So when you're feeling that split, I'm going to suggest you look at the inventory from anger. You also consider where that rational mind or compromise tendency is sitting and root it out. And what you're going to be left with is a very clear sense of what you don't want and a much clearer sense of what you do want. And that's going to help you make a decision when you're really split better than anything else will. If you have some comments for me, feel free to hit the subscribe button, make some comments, and I love to read it and I love to hear what you have to say. So thank you very much, and I will see you here next week.